So anyway, my name's Christopher, and I'm an alcoholic. And as I just said, you know, I always loved coming to places like this to talk to people like you guys, because the truth is that I am you guys. I mean, just as all of us are right here, you know. I grew up in places like this, you know. I've lived in facilities like this. I mean, nothing quite this nice, but, you know, I definitely grew up in places like this. And when I first met you guys, coming to the meetings down at the Alano on the white bus, you know, I mean, I used to ride those white buses everywhere for years, like off and on for a long time. So, you know, I know what that's like, man. And, you know, I know that it's not easy at times, but I do know this too, is that it gets better, man. It really does, you know. The other day at the Alano Club, we were making tiles, and, you know, a couple of you guys were there, and what I wrote on my tile is the shortest paragraph in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is, "It works, it really does." You know, it's on page 88. Because that's been my experience, man, and because my other way of life and my old way of life, the way of life that I learned from when I was very young, you know, it didn't work anymore. I mean, the fact is that if drugs and alcohol still worked, then I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I would still be using. I would still be drinking. Otherwise, you know, why would I be here, right? Why would any of us be here? I mean, nobody shows up into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous on the wings of success. You know. I mean, I've yet to see that happen really for anyone. Maybe it does, but I haven't seen that. So when I spoke the other night, I didn't really tell very much of my story because, you know, most of you guys weren't there. Most of the younger people weren't there. And tonight I want to share more of my story because I feel like, you know, it also says in here that your dark past can be the greatest asset you have. You know, CD, I talked to you about that the other day. Because with that, you can help to save others from a very dark place, you know, down the road. And that might not be right now. It might not even be 10 years from now, but eventually it could happen. And, you know, I referred to it the other night as planting a mustard seed of faith, but I heard a new analogy since then that I really liked, and I think it really applies to you guys a lot more. And that's, you know, you see these oak trees all over the place here. All these oak trees, they grow from a single acorn, and that's how oak trees grow. You know, from a little teeny acorn, these oak trees grow into these huge, massive trees, and they're super big, and they have really deep roots, and then they continue to shell out thousands of other acorns. You know, so just from this one conversation, you may not realize it right now, but 10 years from now, you could help 100 people, man. You know, if that's what you want your life to be about, you know, and if you don't, that's okay too, man. You know, I mean, the fact is that, you know, nowadays we work, I don't want to say we work, but in the rooms of AA and NA, you hear a lot of like watered down message. You know, back in the day, they would tell you, if you don't know if you have a problem, well then, you know, there's the door, go find out if you have a problem. And that was the kind of, we'll just call it the kind of love that was getting shown when I first started coming around when I was your guys' age, you know. I came into the rooms for the first time when I was 16 years old. I was brought there by a friend of mine who even at that time was like, he had already got clean, and he took me aside and was like, "Hey man, you know, I think you might really have a problem. This is something you might really want to look at." And at the time, I wasn't as lucky as you guys, man. And, you know, and I'm not going to bullshit you guys. When I was your age, if somebody would have said that to me, I would have told them two things. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Because I was not trying to hear that at that age at all. And I went to one meeting, and then I, you know, maybe like two, and I decided it wasn't for me, man, because it hadn't got bad enough for me yet. You know, from the time that I was really, really young, and I did say this the other night, but, you know, I always felt like a little different, man. Like I always felt like, I don't know, that like when God was making all the people and they were on God's conveyor belt going to earth, that I missed like a little sprinkle or something. Like, you know, he didn't give me whatever I needed to deal with what we call life on life's terms. And I heard another gentleman at a share in Compton actually talk about how he never had that extra layer of skin. And this dude was like a force. I mean, he was no joke. This guy had been in gang activity and stuff since he was very, very young. And he still, he still felt that way, because he had learned from a very young age, just as I did and just as many of you guys did, that, in order to protect ourselves, whether that be from our parents or from the world around us or from whatever, you have to learn to adapt to survive from a very young age. I mean, that's a very common trait in young addicts and alcoholics, And the truth is when you're young, man, I mean, it's, somebody asks you if you're an alcoholic, the most honest answer is most of us don't know, and that's okay to not know, but I will say this, man, we will gladly refund your misery at the door. I mean, that's how this thing works right here, You can mess around with it for as long as you want, and I had to mess around with it for a long time, man. And, I'm not going to go into a big, deep thing about my story, but I'll say this, man. I actively used and drank every single day from the time that I was about 12 years old till the time that I was about 25 years old. And I'm talking, I had made myself believe that I couldn't go to sleep unless I was drunk. And so I got hammered drunk every single day, as well as doing just about whatever drugs I could get my hands on all the time. And that was how my life continued, man. At that time, I had done so much drugs and gotten so many fights and drank so much that all of my front teeth right here were all knocked out and broken. I literally didn't even smile for about 10 years because I was so self-conscious about how my teeth looked, and it really fucking bothered me. And I kept that same feeling that I'm talking about from when I was very young, and I carried it forward, but I got better at hiding it and better at lying about it. Because more than anybody in this thing, man, we end up lying to ourselves. I mean, and that's like the sad fact for most of us, And that was definitely the fact for me. And it had to get really bad for me, man. I mean, I ran this thing into the ground. I ended up running from the law, multiple times. I ended up on different forms of probation and felony probation from the time I was probably 16 years old until I was well into my 20s, man. And I would just share with you that if that is a yet for you, it can still be a yet. You know what I mean? It's not something you have to go through. You hear a lot of words and phrases thrown around in the rooms nowadays, like relapse is part of recovery. That is not at all a part of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. It does not say that in this book anywhere. That's some rehab speak that somebody came up with at some point. That's not necessarily the case. Now, I'd be lying if I told you that's not part of my story, because it straight up is part of my story. But it doesn't have to be part of your story. I have a very good friend of mine in Sonoma County who I've told some of you guys about. She's 27 years old, dude. She just took 12 years. And she's never gone out. And so it does happen. It doesn't happen very much, but it does happen. And the reason why for her is because she did exactly what was suggested by everyone. She stuck in the middle, she worked the steps, and she gave it away. I said the other night, to break the steps down in very, very simplistic terms, 1 through 3 we give it up, 4 through 9 we clean it up, 10 through 12 we keep it up. And that's the steps in a nutshell right there. We go back into our lives and we find something that's greater than us. Joe, what you were talking about outside about, you're like, oh, I don't even know what my higher power is or anything like that. That's totally fine. And that's where basically everyone starts. I mean, that's definitely where I started, for sure. But when I was younger and when I was coming into this, I said the same thing to somebody. And I said, you're talking about God all the time. I don't even know if I believe in God or if there even is a God. Because if there was, how would all this stuff be happening to me? And how would all this gnarly shit be happening to people around me? How would one of my best friends die in my fucking arms? You know what I mean? And that was, that's just what we experience as alcoholics and addicts, man. I mean, unfortunately, if you stick around the rooms long enough, you end up going to a lot of weddings and a lot of funerals. Those are the two things we get to go to around here, and a lot of birthdays. That's the third thing, But, what somebody said to me that made a lot of sense to me at that time was that, and it says this in here, that we've been living upon faith and little else. Because the fact is that I conceded to a power greater than me from a very young age. I just didn't call it God. I called it drugs. I called it alcohol. My higher power was sold on every fucking street corner in America. And when I got honest about that, and I was like, well, I guess I did. My sponsor at the time, his name was Steve, and he's still my sponsor in Northern California to this day. And He's a really good man, man. He taught me a lot, taught me a whole lot. But, I guess what I'm trying to say is that, nobody in the rooms should ever try to sell you their God or anything like that. That's not what this is about. This is about finding a God of your own understanding, whatever that looks like, And, maybe, I've heard people literally use everything from nature to Buddha to whatever. It really doesn't matter. The biggest thing is that you can just believe in something that's greater than you and more powerful than you. And that's all that matters, whatever that is, I wouldn't suggest using anything physical, because physical things have a tendency to go away. So for me, I just call it the creator, or the power of infinite love. It's like very non-denominational. Just how I look at it. Because for me, love is the opposite of how I felt for most of my life. So I can look at that, and that makes sense to me. And anybody can borrow that, use it, whatever. I'm just borrowing it for somebody else anyway. But anyway, so when I was 25, man, I really ran this thing into the ground pretty hard. I was literally on death's door. I'd already been to rehab once, and I had spent a little bit of time in Alcoholics Anonymous. But I was drinking to a point that when I went to rehab, they literally thought I was going to die from not drinking. They had to put me on like Ativan and a couple other medications because they were really worried, like when I showed up, because I was literally shaking like a tree and I couldn't hold food down or anything like that. And it had progressed to that level at a very young age for me. And for what it's worth, that story doesn't make me special in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. You hear very similar stuff to that all the time. But that was when I hit, what I would call my first bottom. And that's like another thing that you hear all the time in the rooms is the term rock bottom. Once again, not out of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's a very used term in the recovery circle, and it works very well. We love to use it. But that being said, when you ask most people what their rock bottom was, they will give you a bunch of physical things that happened to them. They'll say, oh, I was locked up, I was almost dead, I wrecked a car, somebody died. Like, they'll give you all these physical things that happen. But to truly hit a bottom in this thing is to be at a place where you're willing to ask for help from something that's bigger than you. That's what a bottom is. It doesn't matter if you're on Park Avenue or a park fucking bench, man. Everybody's bottom is the same in this thing. There are no differences. And when I got sober in my 20s, the time I'm talking about, I really let myself see the differences rather than the similarities. And the reason why I bring this up is because I allowed that to drive me out of the program. Because I was sitting in a room with a bunch of old, rich guys that looked nothing like anyone that I grew up with at all. And I couldn't relate to them, man. Because at the time, the whole young people's thing hadn't really kicked off yet. It wasn't really what it is today. And, so I felt different and not a part of, just like I felt when I was a kid. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well just be loaded. So that's what I went to go do, and I went to go do some more research. And that brought me to a place where at that point, I'd gotten pretty involved in the game, man, and ended up catching a case, man. And I didn't even know about it at the time, but I was so fucked up, I wasn't paying attention, and I didn't realize that the cops had been following me for almost a year. And so when I got popped, they gave me an Encyclopedia Britannica of the last year of my life, and they had me cold as ice. They had more than what they needed by the time they got to me. And so I didn't have anywhere to go, man. I was fucking done. And, and I'm saying this in a very casual way to you guys, and this isn't something that I would usually share at a meeting, but I'm going to share it here because I feel like it's important for you guys to hear, because I drastically hope that hearing this will make you realize that you don't have to go that way too, man. You just don't. It's not how it is. So anyway, I went to court. I was locked up, and once again, sick, so sick, man. And I was on death's door, but this time I was in jail. I wasn't in rehab. And in jail, it's not all nice like here. They just let you bounce off the walls until you're not bouncing off the walls anymore. And at that time, I was sitting, I remember very vividly, I was sitting in the courtyard where we used to play basketball, and it's like sitting in a bird cage. I mean, there's, fence surrounding you everywhere. And I was like looking up at the sky, and I was thinking about life, and I realized what the last 10 years of my life had been like. And I realized that I didn't want to do it anymore, man. I just didn't want to live that way anymore. And I had, in my opinion, probably one of the worst lawyers in the entire world. I had this public defender that ended up being a judge after my case, so that was really cool. But that is what it is, and it got me to where I am now. And looking back, my sponsor up north actually suggested recently, because I just went through my 9th step, that I write her a thank you letter for changing my life, even though at the time I couldn't see it. But now I do. Anyway, so I fought my case for almost a year. Like I said, I mean, they had me so cold. There was no getting out of this. I was basically going to prison, is what it was. And their first offer was 18 years in the state penitentiary, and then it dropped to 16 years, and then it dropped to 14 years. And I kept going back and kept fighting it. And by the 16th time I went to court, they offered me 6 years in the state penitentiary, or then the judge said, I'm going to give you one chance. And he goes, this is your one chance. And he goes, I'm going to allow you to finish this year. I'm going to give you a 14-year joint suspended sentence over your head. You're going to pay $10,000 in fines. You're going to do a 9-month treatment program, and you're going to be on felony probation for 4 years. If you mess up even one of those things, you're going to do 85% of that 14 years. And that was when I was 25. And if I had caught that time, I wouldn't even be out yet. I'd still be locked up. And that was 10 years ago. Anyway, man, that was enough fear to motivate me. That was enough fear to say, you know what, Judge, okay, I'm done. You win. You know what I mean? I'm done. It's good, And I got really serious about this thing, man. The day that I touched down at the treatment facility, my dad came to visit. And, the whole time I was locked up, man, my life was so fucked up that I had 2 people visit me the whole time, my mom and my cousin, and that was it. Everybody else, all my homeboys that I was so fucking close with, that I was going to die with and for and all this stuff, I didn't see fucking one of those guys, not one. I think I got a letter from one of them. I mean, that was it. And the reason I tell that part of my story too, man, is that on the street, we learn to swear allegiance to a lot of things that simply aren't real, man. They're just not. I mean, they're really not. And, that's been my experience anyway. And for the people that it is real for, they usually end up part of the recidivism rate, which means they're going back and going back and going back because of some stuff they got caught up in again and again and again. Anyway, man, so when I touched down at, it was called Turning Point. It was this little place in Sonoma County. And it was a treatment facility that makes this place look like Club Med, man. I mean, it was 100 people. Most of them just came out of prison. I was like one of the nice kids in the group. You know what I mean? And so I basically just jumped right into it, man. The first meeting I went to, I walked up to what looked like the nicest, coolest guy there, and I asked him to be my sponsor. I told him I knew absolutely nothing about how to live life, and I really needed some help. And he stuck with me, man. He stuck with me for the first year and a half of my sobriety. And I held on to that, man. I really held on to that. And then from there, I started working with Steve, who's still my sponsor today, But the reason I'm sharing this part of my story as well is because, as I mentioned, it was very fear-based, It was all based on fear. And as I mentioned, I call my higher power the power of infinite love, because that's what my program is based upon today. It's very different. When I got clean this time, when I got sober this time, it was something I did because I wanted to. And I had never done that before. It was always because of something else. It was always because of a nudge from the judge, or my mom, or my girl, or whatever it was, dude. It was never for me. And anyway, man, so after 2 months short of 5 years clean, I got off felony probation. I didn't catch any violations or anything like that. I got to the point where I would go into my probation office. My probation officer wouldn't even talk to me because she knew I was doing so good. She would literally just like wave me off. Like she'd just be like, okay, yeah, good to see you. Like I have people screwing up. I'm busy. You know what I mean? And so anyway, but in that time period, I met so many guys in the program that walked me through this. And I mean, and some women too, some older women that had really been doing this thing. But in this thing, we say the guys stick with the guys and the girls stick with the girls for a reason, man, because it'll make your program stronger. It really will, especially in the beginning. Especially in the beginning. Anyway, yeah. So after almost 5 years, man, I decided that I had probably just made some really bad decisions, and that I just messed up a few times, and of course now I knew enough about myself that I wouldn't do that again. Because, at this point I was very educated about what it was to be an addict, what it was to be an alcoholic, because I'm so smart, right? Because I'm so smart. In reality, I had just gotten that much better at bullshitting myself. And I didn't see it because I had almost a 5-year buffer of sobriety there, which it's hard to see sometimes, especially when you're young. And that's why I keep saying that, because it's true. It's very hard, man. Anybody who tells you it's easy is lying to you, But I'll tell you this too, man. I mean, and some of you guys may have heard me say this in a meeting before, but, there's no harder job in life than being an active alcoholic or an active addict. I don't care what you're talking about. I don't care if you're working 60 hours a week, okay? Because when you're actively using and you're actively dealing or you're actively doing whatever you're doing, you're full-time every day, baby. That stuff doesn't end. That's your life. And it doesn't get better. It gets worse. It's not like when you're doing the right thing and working really hard. It's the opposite of that. So anyway, yeah. Sorry, I keep sidetracking here. So then, after that amount of time, man, I went out and I decided that I could just smoke some pot for a while, and that was going to be okay. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, it was okay for about a year and a half or so. And then, because I'm such a good alcoholic and I'm so good at lying to myself when I'm using, I figured because it had been a couple of years, I could probably have a couple drinks and that wouldn't be that big of a deal. Like it says in here, we tried switching from scotch to brandy, drinking natural wines. I was like, I'm just going to drink wine and some cider because I grew up in Sonoma and that's what we do there. It's like, just like in a lot of the families you guys talk to me about, you use wine at every single meal. It's how my family was too. And from the time I was 12 or 13 years old, it was totally okay for me to do, at any time. And so I rode that for about 4 or 5 years, man. About 4 or 5 years. And it didn't get better. It didn't get better. And, somebody told me one time that in order to fight a progressive disease, you have to have a progressive recovery. I definitely didn't do that. I thought I did that. And what I did is I stayed in the middle of the program, and I stayed out of trouble, and I sponsored guys, and I talked a lot, and I spoke at a lot of places. But what I didn't do is get really honest with myself about who I was and where I was at, man. And, that's something that took me till later to get, and I wish for you guys especially, man, what we call the gift of desperation, which is, I hope that you get to where I got to 15 years down the road a lot sooner, because you could save yourselves a lot of fucking pain and suffering, man. A lot. Just stay, CD. Just stay, It's a lot easier, My good friend Marcus Myers back home, he used to end every one of his shares with that. He used to say, don't keep coming back, just stay. It's a lot easier to hold on to your seat than try to fight for it back. Because the fact is that I'm one of the few lucky ones, man. I've had a lot of friends, and I'm not saying this to try to scare you or anything like that, because everybody here knows that doesn't really work anyway. But I mean, because people tried it with me, and I was like, yeah, okay, sure, But I've literally had friends in recovery that went out to go use one more time, and I've had this happen more than once, and now they're buried somewhere. And I'm not trying to say that, like I said, to try to scare you guys or anything like that. I'm saying that because it really sucks to go to somebody's funeral, especially when you're sober. It's not a fun thing to do, especially somebody that you care about. So I would hope that you guys don't have to go through that, and I hope for all of you that you don't, because it's not a cool thing to go through. Anyway, so, the sum total of this thing for me has always been about the 12th step, man, which is giving it away. There's different families in recovery. Some families are very into general service. Some of them are very into H&I, which is hospitals and institutions, which means going into the facilities and talking to the guys in jails and stuff like that. I know some guys that I think would be really good at that. But that was never like my side of it. My side of it was always working with new guys, because for some reason I could always click with the younger guys, because I am the younger guys. I mean, dude, I have walked in your shoes. I know exactly how you feel, because I felt it before. I know that, like, better than I know myself, But in that time period when I was clean and sober, man, I mean, that was when I met my wife. That was when I got my driver's license. I didn't even get my driver's license, dude, until I was in my 20s, because I just didn't. I was always so loaded and so fucked up that it never worked out like that for me. That car out there that I drove here tonight, I was sharing with the boys on the way up here. That was the first sobriety gift that I bought myself. After like 2 or 3 years clean, I had enough money set aside, and I didn't really know what to do with it, because I'd never been doing that well before. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to buy this car. It seems like a good thing to do. And I shared this in a meeting a few weeks ago too, but when I was younger and I first got sober, I literally thought, and this is like no joke, I thought that when you were done with the steps, you were somehow awarded like a nice car and a pretty girlfriend, because it seemed like everybody I knew that had done the steps all of a sudden was driving a nice car, had a good job, and they had a pretty girl hanging out with them. And because I was younger, that's how I saw it. That's
all bullshit.
Well, it is. It is. And the fact is that you may get that stuff, yeah, but the fact is that what you really get is a richness that is beyond all that. When we start from ground zero and we start at step one, and there's even, I heard a guy in a share the other day that I really liked say that there's a step before step one, and if you read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it refers to this, and that's, we have to concede to our innermost self that we are alcoholics or addicts, like whatever you want to call it. That's the predecessor, if you will, to step one. To admitting that you're powerless over alcohol and that your life has become unmanageable. And that's something that only you can figure out. Like me and my sponsor, when we used to talk to guys out in front of meetings, man, we used to literally ask them 3 questions. Are you done? And if they said yeah, then we'd say, do you or are you willing to believe in anything that's greater than you? Not necessarily God, just something greater than you are. And if they said yeah, you say, well, are you willing to believe that power can help change your life, man, whatever that is. And that's it. Like I said, it's a very simple program for very complicated people like me and like you guys. You know what I mean? No one here is, we're all different, man, but we're all pretty similar, And if you keep coming back and you keep coming to meetings, I know that sounds like, oh, keep coming back, man. How many times have you heard that? You've heard it a lot. But I promise you this, you will hear your story from somebody in the rooms eventually. That's what happened to me. I heard a man say my life word for word. And I remember sitting in that meeting and like tears like streaming down my face, because I was so blown away that somebody else could have lived the same thing that I lived. And this guy was sitting there like with 20-something years sober, and I had no idea how he could do that. And, that's the guy that ended up being my sponsor later. And the reason I say the thing about, about what I thought when I was younger, man, is because, it's so easy to have misconceptions about recovery when you're first getting involved with it. I mean, it can be a confusing and scary thing, man. It can be something it's uncomfortable, man. That's how it starts. But as we continue on this path and as we continue through the steps, it gets better and it continues to get better. And I said that statement too because I wanted to relate it to today for you guys. Today, I literally have less financial assets than I've had in 15 years. But today, I feel richer than I've ever felt, man. And that's no bullshit. That's not me trying to sell you some line. That's how it is. Because I don't really need anything outside of this right here, man. I just don't, I mean, yeah, I'm married. Yeah, I have things going on or whatever. But that's all a side effect of working a good program and trying to change my life and trying to move forward rather than backward. So yeah, man, I'm not gonna go on for a really long time or anything like that, but I wanted to just read a couple things out of here, and then I'm gonna give it over to Dane so Dane can pitch too, and so we can hear what he has to say, because honestly I'm really pretty excited to hear what he has to say too. There's this part in the big book that it's called The Doctor's Opinion, and The Doctor's Opinion is a letter that William Silkworth wrote about Alcoholics Anonymous, and to Bill W. and to Bob, and those are the gentlemen that started this program of ours. And it says a lot of things in the letter, but one of the things I have highlighted in my book is that these men may well have a remedy for thousands of such situations, referring to alcohol and referring to alcoholics. Something I heard, very, very young in sobriety, was that if your problem is alcohol, then you're probably not in the right place. And I didn't really get what that meant at the time. That flew like 15 miles over my head. It did. It really confused the heck out of me, because I was like, but this is my problem. This is Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, of course alcohol is my problem. Exactly, Silas. Where I'm going with this is that, my problem wasn't alcohol. My problem was alcoholism. And alcoholism can be reborn, can change. You can be practicing alcoholism when you're sober. I heard somebody call it the other day sobriety, and I really liked that. Because to be dry really just means you're not drinking, but you're not working a program either. You can be sober and be fucking miserable also. So the fact is that one of the things it says in A Vision for You that I really love is that we've been given a new way of life. And these are things that we won't want to miss. And there's gonna be hard days, man, and there's gonna be hard nights, and there may be hard weeks or even hard years. But everyone that I've met who's really stuck with this thing, their life usually gets better and changes, not always in the way that they wanted it to, but it always gets better. And I really believe that, man, like deeply.
Take it over, please.
In the beginning of how it works, it says, rarely we have seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. The reason why I wanted to read this tonight is because I got in the middle of sobriety. I worked the steps. I stayed clean and sober. I did what I had to do. But I didn't completely give myself to the program. There was a lot of things that I wasn't willing to change. And, I would just really encourage you guys to completely give yourself to this thing, man. Because it's definitely worth it. Bruce, you cracked me up. You got that covered? I think you're good now.
We were trying to light a fire. What are you doing?
Too late, man.
It's funny.
Thank you.
I'm going to say like two more things, and I'm going to pass it over to Dane. One of the things it says in here, and I don't even need to look it up because I know this one. It's funny. I like to keep this for reference because I like to quote it directly, because a lot of times we missay things in recovery. Like one of the things I missay all the time that I'm trying to get better about is in the 12th step. It says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. In NA, you hear him say as a result, like there was somehow other results that could happen after working the 12 steps. If you read the 12 steps in the Rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, it's phrased the. In other words, if you, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. Mm-hmm. In other words, this is the result if you work the steps.
Yeah,
But I would just say this, man. You stick with this thing, and that will be the result. You will have a spiritual awakening. Your life will get better, and it will continue to get better, man. That's just how it works. And working with others, something else that it says that I really like is that, an alcoholic armed with the facts of himself can usually win the respect and time of another alcoholic over a period of a couple hours. And the reason I wanted to say that tonight is because that really reminded me of meeting, the both of you and you, Silas. Like, the fact is that, I know you guys because I know me, and because we're not that different. It's just like I was saying about the bottom, man. You know, everybody's bottom's the same in here. You know, and it's just getting to a point where you can ask for help, man. So, anyway, that's basically all I got. But I will say this, man. This is always a one day at a time program. This isn't a year at a time or 10 years at a time. You don't work this thing for 5 years and then receive a 3-year ghetto pass to go do whatever you want to go do after that, because I thought I did. That's not how it is. What we have here, and it says this in the big book also, is we have a daily reprieve based upon our spiritual condition. In other words, every day, man, we have a progressive disease. We have to have a progressive recovery. We've got to stick in the middle of it, And so if any of you guys, ever need to talk or need help or need to talk about the steps or whatever, you young ladies, if you need to talk to somebody, I can refer you to many women that I know in the program have been doing this for a long time, and they would love to talk to you, because the fact is that, we keep what we have by giving this thing away. That's how that works. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you get sober and you keep it for yourself, because that's not the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. We get sober to help others. That's what this is about. Just like that, the oak tree I was referring to in the very beginning of this, okay? You can be that little acorn, dude, that drops into somebody's life and changes it. And it might take a while to bloom and to sprout. But, I mean, you look at all the trees on that hill right there, man, that's how they got there, So, anyway, I get so choked up. I'm such an emotional guy nowadays. I love you guys a lot, man. I really do, and I'm very proud of you guys, very proud of you guys. And, I thank you for saving my life, man. That's what I got. That's it.
Chris.
Thank you. Love you too, Chris.
Love you, buddy. And then I'm going to pass it on over to my friend Dane here, man.
My name is Dane. I'm a grateful addict and alcoholic today.
Hey, Dane.
It's funny we got something in common, Chris. Are you guys any of you over 18?
No.
None of you, huh? Fuck, when I was 16, I was living on couches, staying with friends. My parents had kicked me out. I used to go to school right there at the skate park where a lot of youngsters hang out, and it's called Chaparral. And I didn't give a fuck about school. I didn't give a fuck about nothing. I sure in the hell didn't give a fuck about myself, And that's something that I learned at a young age too. You guys being here is a fucking blessing. At your guys' age, I was getting as fucked up as I could. Because I didn't know how to handle life. I didn't want to deal with anything. I wanted to drink as much as I could, smoke as much bud as I could, snort coke, fucking take pills, whatever it was, Whatever you had for me, I wanted it. And I didn't give a fuck about anything, So that's how I started off my teenage years, and I thought running away was a good idea. So my parents had moved out of town, so I thought I'd venture off into another town, half hour away, and lived there for 7 years, and I found myself just getting more fucked up there, Stayed in my parents' garage for a bit, and that lasted a very short time, and went back to the streets, and beating up people, and slanging dope, and doing dumb shit, and ended up finding myself with one of my best friends, Chris Sheets, that lives in Oregon now. Their parents were alcoholics. His brother and sister were alcoholics and potheads, and they didn't really give a fuck about meth or pills or nothing, but I kept that from them, They didn't need to know it because it wasn't important to them. If we're all getting messed up, it didn't matter, So I stayed out there for about 7 years and went graduated from beer and pot to liquor and harder shit. And, when I was younger, it just was, it was just every now and then. But as I got older, I had to drink every day. I had to. Smoking weed was a part of my life for 8 years straight, every fucking day. And at 25 years old, I had a seizure from lack of alcohol to the brain because I thought I'd come to Ohio to do a tattoo on a buddy, and I thought it'd be a great idea to not have a drink that day. So, at that time, I had been with my girlfriend for a few years, and that's how we met, was partying. She came to a pad I had because I had a job at the time and was living with my brother and a few friends, and she came over and never left. And that day I went to go do that tattoo, she got to see me sit there and kick like a fucking fish and foam out the mouth and slam my head off the car window, and thank God I wasn't driving that day, So I went to the hospital that day, and the doctor said if I kept drinking like I wasn't going to make it to the fucking age of 27 years old. That's how much I drank. And, that's when it started, relapse is a part of my story. I didn't listen to no doctors. I didn't listen to anyone still. I kept drinking, had 4 more seizures, so I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to move back to my town, because there wasn't working either, So I moved back to Oakview, and I remember I'd got on Ativan, got on some other pills to get off the alcohol, and that's what the doctor suggested, and I fucking started snorting Roxycontins and smoking a lot of speed and doing dumb shit, and I clicked up with an old high school buddy of mine. We started playing softball, and I hadn't slept for a couple days. Snorted a few Roxys, and went and played a softball game, and came home and was sitting on my balcony full of bud plants, because that was the thing to do at the time, and fell over and had a seizure and fucking broke every single one of them, and went back to the hospital, seized there. Then I was at the gas station a mile down the road, and I had a fucking seizure there. So I had 3 seizures the last time I had my episode, in one fucking night within 2 hours. So, then I went to Tarzana Treatment Center for a week. Went from Tarzana to Kepra, and then I put up a few months, sobriety, and I thought I'd start smoking weed again. The fucking gateway drug, and went from fucking smoking weed, for a minute, and at Kepper House, this facility, I got to be around some older cats who told me about heroin. I'd fucked around with Roxy's, but those ain't nothing compared to a bag of heroin, and yeah, I went, 28 years old, from 28 to 32 years old, a good 4 years, started fucking doing the real shit, the big boy stuff, and it wasn't no fucking fun. If you get to something like that, you get to where you start using, it's alright, and you have to fucking have it. I heard you say, that fucking physical fucking sickness, I was spiritually, fucking mentally, and fucking physically fucking sick by the time I was 32 years old. Started slinging dope, provide for my fucking habit, that quick fucking money, that quick fix, that fast life, that's all fucking bullshit to me. It's no fucking joke. And I got kids now that are 7 and 8 years old, they watched me fucking sell dope out of the pad. They saw my friends come by. They saw fucking Mr. Popular, and that shit was fun for a minute until I fucking ran out and I needed to go fucking rob someone or fucking break windows or fucking take people from shit. And, I stole from family, I stole from my wife, I stole from any motherfucker I could get anything from, and that's what it boiled down to, and I got sick of it, dude. Got real sick of it real quick. So, at the age of 32, I sold my buddy a bag of dope, and he fucking went home and fucking did a shot and died. And that's only one of them. I've had multiple friends die in this shit. That's one thing you will get to do is go to weddings and a lot of fucking funerals. Because that shit ain't gonna stop. People are just either gonna fucking get this shit if they want to get it, or they're gonna fucking die, and that's what happens. Or they'll go to jail for a long time. You know, so I got busted on October 13th. I did 4 months, 8 months with half. Was out for 3 weeks. I went to the sober living I'm at, and they rearrested me. I said, what the fuck you guys rearrested me for? You know, I'm doing good. I'm staying clean. I'm going to meetings. And my probation officer called me and he said, Dane, you need to come in and give me a random drug test. I said, bull fucking shit, dude. And I go, let me pay for my mom's fucking lunch right now for her friend and have a couple cigarettes and, you know, turn myself in. Got rearrested on an involuntary manslaughter case. My buddy had fucking passed away 3 weeks before I got busted, and they're trying to pin that on me right now. So I'm fighting that case right now. And I've been to jail twice now. The first time I kicked heroin for 21 fucking days with no sleep. Puking, shitting, fucking burping, sneezing, coughing, and fucking just everything coming out of me. Out of every orifice I have. With no fucking sleep for 21 days. I'll never forget that fucking shit. So yeah, if you want to go fucking use or drink or whatever, go have fun and come tell me about it when you're done, because it ain't no fucking fun. You guys can tell yourself whatever the hell you want. I've been there and done it, and I ended up in jail. I was lucky till I was 32 years old. I'd come in and out of jail for a few days and, you know, go right back to it. And this time, I told myself when I got locked up, I'm never going to fucking use dope or drink again. And I haven't, you know? I went back in when I got locked up after those 3 weeks of being out. Sat in there for 50 fucking days. They wouldn't let me bail out on a violation. I fucking went to court. They said, you got 5 days jail. I said, alright, well, I've done 50 fucking days out of that 5 days. I'm going to bail out for the first time ever in my life. I'm out on bail right now. I'm fighting that fucking manslaughter case. They're hanging 5 years prison time over me, and that's one thing I don't give a fuck about jail. That shit don't scare me. I can survive in there. I can make spreads. I can shoot pinochle. I can fucking take all your shit from you. Whatever, dude. Survival's what I've done. You know, that's one thing after being in recovery. We're not stupid motherfuckers. We're here for a reason, you know? If you're street smart, you're fucking smart and you can get this shit. You know? You don't have to go to jails or institutions or die if you really want this. For me, I wanted it when I went to jail and I fucking kicked for those 3 weeks. No sleep, looking at concrete walls. You know, I find gratitude today. I get to go shopping, I get to go to the beach, I get to go take my homeboys out because I work fucking really hard. I can spend money on whatever the hell I want. And Chris said it earlier, it's not about it's not about all those materialistic bullshit. Because when you get clean, you fucking work, you get all that shit over time, dude. It's one day at a fucking time here. I got 7.5 months fucking clean in and out of jail this time for the first time in my fucking life. You know, I get to be a father to my kids. I get to fucking get out here and breathe this fresh fucking air, because you don't do that in jail. I get to fucking walk around on my own 2 feet, fucking put my own clothes on that ain't blue and orange. You know, I don't have to eat fucking spreads out of a bag. I don't gotta play cards if I don't want to. You know, because all that shit's fucking old to me. It all got old. I was fucking spiritually, mentally, and physically fucking bankrupt, and today I have a peace of mind. You know? I don't have that little voice in my head that fucking says, Dane, you gotta go buy a bag of dope. You gotta go fucking run the corners. You gotta go fucking do this or that. I get to tell myself what the fuck I want to do today, and I get to do it, you know? That's the fucking gift of recovery. Is not hearing this fucking hamster cage fucking tell me fucking blah, 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 blah. You know? Because fucking all that shit sucks. I do feel wealthy today, bro, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's spiritually. I do have a fucking God in my own understanding, and he's doing for me what I could not do for myself 7.5 months ago, you know? And that's for real fucking shit. I wish I got into a recovery place when I was this young. Then I wouldn't have to go through fucking 7.5 years of beating myself up. One thing I get to do, you know, is watch my kids tell their dad, I wish you were at home living with us. You know? Because I did have a wife of 10 years, and she left me because of this shit. And maybe one day we will be back together, but right now that ain't the fucking case, and I'm okay with that today, you know? I have my hard days, and that's one of my hardest things is, you know, I'll bet you guys as parents, all they want you to do is fucking get something out of this. Whether it be sober and clean or do whatever, just be fucking happy, dude. That's one thing I can say after, yeah, dude. It's crazy, the things that we think that we want, you know, it's all a mind fuck. And today, yeah, I'm one happy dude. I have my days, my kids fucking put me through emotional wrecks, but the thing is, I put myself there. And I realize that no one else is to blame but myself today, you know? We can blame anyone else, fucking say, oh, it's my mom, my dad, my this, my that, fucking blah, blah, blah. No one else put me else in my situations but me. And I'm good at fucking creating tornadoes. That's all I did fucking most of my life, so, you know, I live in a sober living with a bunch of dudes, and you know what? A dude came in the other day. He's fucking puking his guts out in bed right now. Fucking hating life. Those things I find fucking ways to get grateful for. I don't have to be in a bed fucking puking my guts out, wishing I fucking didn't put myself through all that chaos. Because I don't have to. I get to make my own fucking decisions today. I wake up, I go to 6 a.m. meetings. I go to fucking work. I go to a meeting when I get off work. I see my kids when I can, you know, and, yeah, life's fucking good. I like being in a sober living because I get to fucking keep my ass in check. I made a commitment to myself that I'm going to stay there for a year. So that's another fucking, you know, 4.5 months. And after that, then if I want to move, fuck, my mind might change. I got asked to be a fucking manager there. Trip the fuck out. I have the most fucking clean time out of anyone in that house right now. You know? So I used to be one of those. I still am a fucking newcomer, dude, you know, but I put together a little bit of clean time one day at a fucking time. I don't think about tomorrow. You know, tomorrow ain't here. Yesterday is done with, and if I'm not worried about today, I'm pissing on it. You know, so fuck, dude. Everything it's fucking golden, you know, and it's because of recovery. I go to a lot. I've been to fucking 20 meetings in 7 days at 7.5 months clean. So if you ain't going to enough meetings, that might be something you want to do. You know, when that head kicks off, go to a fucking meeting. Hang out with people in recovery. Like, I have a lot of buddies still call me. If they're not clean and sober, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but I don't hang around them. I don't go hang out at skate parks. I don't fucking go hang around places where people get loaded today. I go to the beach with my family or friends or racket clubs or fucking walk downtown. I go to fucking restaurants. Fucking food is one of my fucking favorite things today. You know? I never had to use a fucking spoon because if I would have got to needles, I'd be dead right now. You know, by the grace of God, I'm alive. You know, so I don't know, dude. Recovery is one thing that I've learned and I want today. You know? I don't need to do shit, but keep doing what I'm doing. And it's a pretty simple program because I want this shit. I don't want to be in a jail cell. I don't want to be eating fucking bullshit. I don't want to be doing a lot of things, so I don't do them. It's that simple. I want to see my kids. I want to fucking have a job. Dude, I work on fucking Harley Davidsons. I tattoo and I detail cars. When I get my license back after 3 years of dealing with this felony probation, I'll have my little S10. I'll run my own rig and have my own business. You know? Work on motorcycles and probably still tattoo because I like tattooing on my friends. It's fun. You know? I make more money tattooing out of anything, but that's what I do least because in the past it's taken me out. So I only tattoo on people in recovery or that are my family members, you know? And I've done everything wrong, dude. You know, some of you guys might not get it this time around, dude, because you're young. You might need to beat yourself up. You might need to go back out there and you might need to go through some more fucking hell. I've been through all that, and it doesn't pay off. I ended up in jail. I ended up losing everything I fucking had. And it was because of drugs and alcohol. I lost everything, you know, so I got to fight this shit through jail, kick in there with no fucking Suboxone or methadone or none of that fucking horse shit. And you know, all that shit's a fucking mind fuck to me. I got to kick it cold turkey in a fucking cell with another dude that fucking got to watch me fucking shiver and sweat and fucking hallucinate for fucking 21 days. No fucking sleep, just laying there like, God, please, could I sleep? That fucking just... Dude, it took fucking 6 months not... I heard someone say nightmares. Fucking... I've had nightmares for... Dude, the last month and a half has been like fucking... First time I haven't had nightmares in years, dude. It's because I fucking stay clean and sober. I go to bed at night, and I wake up every fucking day at 5 a.m. without an alarm clock. Because I got shit to do. I got a meeting to go to, I got work, and on my days off, I get to do whatever the fuck I want. That's the fucking cool thing. When you get through this long enough, treat yourself. Have fucking fun. You know, I didn't know how to do that when I was loaded. I thought drinking and fucking getting loaded was fun. It was all miserable, dude. Puking my guts out, fucking... I don't even want to talk about none of that shit, because it's not a part of my life no more. It sucked. It fucking never ended up fun, so... I don't know, dude. Today, I get to manage a pad. I get to work my ass off. I go to meetings. I talk to... People call me, and it's not for fucking dope. You know? That's a fucking good thing. You know, I have family members, I have my boss, I have youngsters, I have people at the pad that call me when they need something that, you know, that they need help with, or they want a fucking idea, or, you know, that's a big thing about giving back, dude. No one used to call me, unless they wanted fucking dope, you know? And, you put enough time together, one day at a time, you know, people call you and it's for good fucking shit. And I like that. That's the pleasure today, dude. You know? Fuck. We're out here in one of the most beautiful valleys in this on this world, dude. I've been across the U.S., been dope sick in Chicago, scoring China White, fucking... I've been all across this place. Fucking the rest of the world is flat to me. You know what I mean? This place is so beautiful. You can hike, you can ride bikes, you can fucking swim. The beach is a half hour away. I could think of a million things to do today. It doesn't involve getting loaded, so... I don't know. I don't gotta fucking talk much about my story today. My life's good. And it's because I'm clean and sober. It's because I want to stay fucking sober. When I got here, it was to get sober. Now it's to stay fucking sober. Because it's gotten nothing but better. There's nothing fucking shitty in my life. The only thing that I want is coming back slowly. And she'll be there because we got 2 fucking kids and she ain't going nowhere, you know? I can go out and have fun and do whatever I want, but that's the other thing. I know what I want today. Before I didn't. Over time, I figured out the woman I want, she's sitting at home with my 2 kids. All the other fucking women are just distractions. They're just short-timers, you know? So when you're in here, you know, you're in these rooms, you're getting sober and clean, fucking set some goals. Figure out what the fuck you want in life. You guys are young, dude. You could be in college, you could be getting degrees, you could be making fucking bucks. Having a blast. Fucking doing whatever the hell you want. Getting loaded and fucking drinking. It ain't the fucking answer, dude. It ain't the solution either. The solution's right here. That's one thing that I've learned. I want to stay in the fucking solution today. And that's why I'm here. You know? That's why I go to a lot of fucking meetings. I've found the answers to the questions I have in life. And it's because I've been taught by people with more time how to live life. I've become a man in these rooms today. I came in here a little scared fucking kid. I ain't scared of nothing today. I walk around. You guys see me walking around. Normally I'm by myself, bro, because I don't give a shit. I ain't scared of nothing, dude. Nothing. There ain't a fucking thing that scares me on this fucking planet. And it ain't God either, because I know he's with me every fucking day. When it's my time to go, it'll be my time to go, and it ain't been any time fucking lately, so it probably ain't gonna be any time soon either. So, fucking, yeah, God's a good thing, dude. When I got here before, all the years before, I used to think, fuck God. He's fucking, he didn't give a shit about me. Why did he let me do all these things? It wasn't him. It was decisions that I fucking made. I quit caring about myself. That's another thing. I've learned how to fucking love myself. You can't love another fucking human being until you love yourself. You know? So, yeah, today I do love myself. I love everything that I'm fucking doing, and I've learned how to love other people. I'm comfortable in my skin today. It's funny, I was telling my sister earlier, I'm getting kind of nervous. It was for like a second. I get to fucking speak, and I could fucking speak all night, dude. You know what I mean? The shit I've fucking learned here. Acceptance, dude. Accept where you're at. Accept yourself. Realize that you're here for a reason, dude. The reason why I can let go of my kid's mom right now is because I accept it's my fucking fault. It's no one else's fault but mine. I'm responsible for myself. And I can look in the fucking mirror today and fucking flex up and be like, yeah, that's me right there, Comfortably. Before I couldn't fucking do that. Weighing 123 pounds, sucked up, rolling around with my shirt off thinking I'm a gangster. Fuck all that shit, bro. That shit's for the fucking birds, dude. Being a gangster to me now is fucking living life sober, paying my fucking bills, taking care of fucking business. It was all bullshit before. Gangsters to me are fucking punks. Gangsters to me now are fucking people who take care of their fucking shit. They're responsible fucking functioning people in society. It was all a fucking facade to me. Dude, Scarface, fucking all that fucking bullshit. I used to think, oh, that dude's dude, fuck no. No one, I don't look over my shoulder today. I see a fucking cop, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Peace. How you doing, Biggie? And they're like, fuck, Dane's still doing good. How the fuck is he doing that? It's because I pulled my fucking head out of my ass. I got sick of fucking living that. Dude, I used to walk around all sweaty and pale and fucking hating my life. Dude, I don't do that. I can fucking smile. Fucking, yeah, I love my life today. And it's as a result of fucking staying clean and sober, dude. That's the only fucking reason why. Everything else is falling into place when it wants to because it's supposed to happen like that. Right now it might suck for you guys. You might think, oh, this ain't all roses and it ain't peachy and fuck this house and fuck certain people and fuck this. It's all fucking your head, dude. When you start saying, hey, this ain't that bad, you guys could be in a fucking jail cell right now. Fucking eating a burrito out of a bag, fucking wanting to stab someone just to fucking go up in the ranks. That shit's all bullshit. All the things I've learned here result to gratitude. I'm grateful for everything that I've done and everything that I have today. And it's taken time, dude. I've only been out for fucking 2 months, but I stayed sober and clean. I could have been doing the Sarah Cool Shuffle in jail, going to bed, fucking. Fuck all that, dude. Fuck all that. I could have got back out, went right back to slanging. Then I'd be in prison right now. I'd be busted, so. I don't know. I'm grateful I came here. Thank you for fucking asking me to come, Chris.
Thank you, bro.
You know what's up, Silas. You're my boy. You guys, thank you for being here. You are a part of my recovery. You help me give back. You guys don't realize it, but you're helping me more than I'm helping you right now. I love going to places like this. I get to fucking... Dude, if I were to get down to all my fucking dirty, fucking dark places, that'd just bring up fucking old shit, and I don't care to talk about it no more. That's another thing I learned in here. After you get a little bit of time, you focus on the fucking good shit, not the bad shit. Because all that shit's fucking horse shit is what it is. So, I don't know. I'm grateful fucking for today. And that's all of us right now, you guys. You may not think, oh, it's just today. That's all we fucking have. You could get hit by a bus or a car walking out that driveway. You could be dead tomorrow. All we do is have today. Just focus on one day at a time. It'll fucking stack up like a brick house. That's all it's done for me. In jail and out of jail. And fucking jail is it's for the birds, dude. You go out there and start using and drinking CD, you're gonna fucking end up there, bro. It may not be tomorrow, it may not be the next day, it could be years down the line, but you're gonna end up there, bro. Or you're gonna end up dead. I can't even count all the friends I have that are fucking dead right now. They didn't even make it to 33. Slamming fucking dope, doing shots of fucking meth. Dude, half the people I've used with are dead right now. You guys are young, dude. You guys are really young. So, if you want to live, you want to have a good life, stick around for a bit. So that's all I got, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Dane.
Dan.
Let's go have a smoke.
Let's go have a smoke.